No one ever tells you how to grow. Have you ever realized that in life? I mean, there have been days that I have realized that I can never go back. Once you grow, once you become aware, you can never go back. You can't unknow something. People will encourage you and tell you about confidence, tell you about freedom, about finding yourself, but they don't tell you about that moment when you realize you can't go back, even if you wanted to. Not back to the conversations that felt rehearsed, not back to shrinking to keep things comfortable, not back to being misunderstood or explaining yourself. For me, that moment didn't come during a breakdown or some dramatic turning point. It came during a normal conversation. And that's what made it kind of unsettling, because once you notice it, you can't unsee it. I was talking to someone I've known for a very long time, someone very familiar, someone very safe. And we were standing in a space that held dozens of conversations before. Same energy, same rhythm, same cadence, same expectations. And as they were talking, I felt something shift internally. I wasn't upset. I wasn't triggered. I wasn't defensive. I was just done pretending. And not in an angry way, not in a dramatic, like, that's it, I'm done, but in a very calm and grounded way. The old version of myself who would have nodded, laughed it off, filled the silence, I kept things light. That time had already passed. It had passed a long time ago, and I paused for a moment. And in that pause, I realized I couldn't meet them where I used to. I didn't want to. It was taking too much energy. I started realizing that energy and time is very precious, and what we want to spend our energy with is what we should do. So that pause felt heavier than any other argument that could have taken place, because it came with a conscious choice. I could step back into the version of myself that made things easier, or I could stay present, utilizing less energy with who I actually am now. And that surprised me. Choosing myself didn't feel empowering at that moment. It felt very sad. I actually started to feel a bit of grief. That grief in that moment, not for them, but for myself. Because for how long I had abandoned my truth to keep relationships smooth. Why was I doing this? We all do this. And this is why I want to talk to you about this, because I think it's important. We don't necessarily have conversations about this. Why do we hold on? We hold on to familiarity because it feels safe. We convince ourselves that if we just explain better, soften more, or wait long enough, things will realign. But growth changes the way that we speak. The language that we speak changes. And when you no longer speak with the same emotional language, conversations feel off, not wrong, just out of sync. Now, this will upset people. You will notice friction in your relationships. That's when you realize effort alone can't bridge every gap. In that conversation, I didn't raise my voice that day. I didn't justify myself. I didn't overshare. I simply told the truth in a way that felt steady. And that reaction told me everything. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was very distant. And that's when it hit me. Some people don't miss you. They miss how you made them feel when you were easier to read, easier to manage, easier to predict. And you don't owe anyone that version of you. Walking away from that conversation, I felt lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because I didn't betray myself for once. Heavier because I knew that things would never go back to how they were. And that's the trade. That's the trade of self-growth. That's a trade of personal growth. You gain self-respect. You lose access to certain rooms. And the rooms you lose weren't built for who you're becoming anyway. It's time to let them go. We talk about outgrowing people like it's empowering, but sometimes it is a quiet, deep grief. You miss the laughter, you miss the ease, you miss the version of you that didn't know better yet. But growth asks you to choose truth over nostalgia. It asks you to choose the present moment over nostalgia. And that choice changes you permanently. You can't go back. In this season, I want to talk about these kinds of moments. The moment that you realize you can't go back to who you were, even if it means standing alone for a while. And having the strength to do that. And if you felt that shift, I want you to know that you're not cold or distant. You're becoming honest. You're becoming honest with yourself. And honesty has a way of clearing space of what actually belongs in your life. So be patient with yourself, be kind with yourself, and realize that this is a process of growth. If this episode hits something in you, share it with someone who's standing at the same internal crossroads. It's about becoming truer to yourself. And once you cross that line, there is no going back. We don't want to become louder, but we want to become truer and more authentic to who we are. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, send us a comment, and until next time.